think for those that don't know about sharks, please open your mind. I strongly believe that this ocean is only going to survive if people like us talk about it.
My first time visiting Tiger Beach in the Bahamas was in October of 2015 with Eli Martinez from SDM Adventures. And I made a YouTube video about my trip that about 70,000 people have seen so far. I had a great experience, but when I posted the video I started to get a lot of comments from people saying we shouldn't feed sharks, that it was dangerous to both humans and sharks, and that it made sharks associate people with food, putting human lives in danger. Quite frankly, I was a tourist and had never really thought about it before. And then recently I saw an article by Scuba Diver Life saying we should stop feeding bull sharks in Playa del Carmen. Since I am friends with one of the shark feeders with Phantom Divers who I met at Tiger Beach a year ago, and since it has been about a year since my last trip to Tiger Beach, I thought I would go back and make a new video specifically addressing the main points in this article about the perceived dangers of feeding sharks. I am not an expert on sharks. I do have about 75 dives with various species of sharks and enjoy it very much. I thought it best to interview people with a lot more knowledge and experience on the subject that I have and give them a chance to share their thoughts on the subject of whether or not it's okay to feed sharks in the ocean.
My name is Eli Martinez. I am a professional shark diver, big animal diver, not really sure what my official title is anymore since we do a lot of diving with whales and crocodiles as well. But my specialty is sharks. That's kind of where I built my career. Focused around sharks. I used to be the former shark editor of Shark Diver magazine, and that's who I am.
So my name's Lee Cobb. I'm from the UK. So I've been diving for 26 years. Shark diving probably 8 or 9 years now. And that's where the passion really is with the sharks and the big stuff.
Hi, my name is Scott Smith. I'm captain of the vessel Dolphin Dream, and we run trips to the Bahamas specializing in diving with sharks, particularly tiger sharks and hammerheads.
Been diving since I was 16 years old. I've been pretty much around the world.
Spent time in the water with tiger sharks, bull sharks, great hammerheads, whale sharks, white sharks, rare sharks like poor beagle sharks.
From the big girls, the whale sharks, to whites, tigers, great hammers, scalloped hammers, silkies, duskies, lemons, reef. Trying to think which ones I haven't. The little leopards.
I've been diving in the Bahamas for almost 36 years now, and probably 25 years ago I started a Caribbean reef shark diving site here in the area, which went over quite well. And now in the last 12 years we've started the diving with the hammerheads and the tiger sharks.
We got serious about diving with sharks about 8 years ago when we first went to Cocos Island. One of the sharkiest places in the world, they say, and it's probably true.
Oh, just the behaviour, the change, the dynamics, the way that they learn things so quickly, their reaction time, the gracefulness of them. I've got to be honest, if I'm totally honest, in the beginning it was a thrill. It was, I've been in the water with sharks. After you've done it so many times, it's more of a respect thing. It's a understanding. It's just a love. That's what I do. It's what I love.
Shark attracting, shark feeding, shark diving is a little controversial, but I find that there is a lot of people that want to experience it. And I think that their experience spreads to other people and opens up the awareness to everybody about sharks.
It was Isla del Coco in Costa Rica, an island off Costa Rica, and I was down at 43 metres. The rest of the group hadn't made it down because the current was so strong. Got down to this little spot in the reef, and playing with the video camera and everything, and I literally looked up, and I have never seen a school of hammerheads. There were scalloped hammerheads, and I honestly didn't know where to point it, and it was up there, it was there, it was there. I'd got a computer going beep, 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 and I was like, I can't go up. It was one of them moments where it's literally, oh my God, where do I look? And it just kept coming and coming and coming, and it was just wow. That was a moment.
You know, I don't really like feeding sharks. It's the tool that we use to try to get the sharks to come in and want us and allow us to interact with them. You know, unfortunately, that's how we need to do it. As far as you know, feeding the animal itself, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I know that for the opportunities for us to get one-on-one moments with these animals, I mean, that's the only way. But it's like that with any animal. If you have a pet dog, I mean, it's, you know, the way to that animal's heart is through food. You know, the same with people. But yeah, no, I mean, it just, to me, it's a tool, and nothing more than that.
Yeah, it's a difficult question. I don't personally have any problem with it. Most of the time, the only way you're going to be able to get close to them or interact with them is if there's some food in the water to attract them. For the most part, I've found that they're very standoffish in the wild. If there's no food in the water, you really seldom see sharks. They tend to avoid, particularly divers, because of the noise the regulator makes underwater.
I did in the beginning, before I experienced it. A couple of people had invited me out to Guadalupe for the white sharks, and I think until you see it and until you understand that, you know, this is not food that is literally every time they come round they get given, you know, this food every single time. It is, you know, the controlled feeding, the way that it's done is that you pick out, you know, the shark that's coming in, feed it, and then it doesn't get another piece maybe on that dive. So I don't have any reservation about it. Used to before I understood it and before I experienced it. I think it can give a complete new understanding to non-shark divers as to the gracefulness. They can see these animals in close proximity. They can see that, you know, they don't come in and just, you know, ravage at the food. It is controlled. So no, personally, I don't have any reservation about it.
Shark feeding for the divers, it is controversial, and I do have mixed feelings about it, but I figure that it's better feeding them than finning them, and if we're feeding them, it's really only a small percentage of sharks that we're really feeding, and what it does is it gives the opportunity for the divers to get close to them. Of course, they take pictures, the pictures get spread out there, all their friends that are non-divers start to realize about sharks, and I think it's an okay trade-off because we're raising the general awareness of sharks and making more people more compassionate about saving the sharks.
If I believe that it caused any harm towards humans or sharks, I definitely wouldn't do it. I don't feel like feeding sharks is harming them. You know, sharks. One of the biggest myths surrounding sharks is if you feed the shark and then later you jump in the water, that shark is going to associate that diver with food. That's 100% a myth. There's so much history to prove and back this up that it's not true. Now, sharks are very intelligent. They're very opportunistic. They'll hang out in a certain area if they think there's a chance to be fed. But when the diver jumps in, if you don't have any food, they're not going to swim up and say, oh, you don't have any food, okay, I'll bite you. Sharks will come, you know, if there's a diver in the water and the shark's in the area, you know, it'll only come in if there's actually scent in the water. But if the scent's not there, the shark is not there.
I don't think sharks change their behaviour necessarily, and I don't think it gives them a sense of a relation between food and humans. I don't think they have that.
I guess the biggest controversy is are we disrupting the shark's natural behavior? And you know, by having the sharks hang around a certain dive site, you do kind of alter the behavior of the shark, because normally by nature they're extremely shy, and so a shark just hanging out there, you know, you've altered, you know, what it would naturally do, which is take off if a diver was in the water. But as far as the animal being there, the animals are still going to do what they do. When the divers are not there, sharks go back out into the reef and they hunt. Most of the sharks that hang around certain dive sites would be in that area anyway, because that's where they live. It's not like we're attracting sharks from 100 miles away. These sharks are naturally always here anyway. The only thing that we've done is, when we created these dive sites, is you know, the sharks come here because they feel safe and they're hoping for an opportunity to feed.
It's a snack for them. Most dive ops don't actually feed them that much. You take a bucket of chum and that'll last an hour underwater, so it's a fairly slow process. They don't get very much food for the size of the animals that they are.
You know, we've got names here for the sharks that are here, and for example, you look at Dirty Girl, for example. She is a huge girl, and if you look at the amount of food that she takes per day, so even if we give her a small piece, she needs so much more food than that, just those 2 or 3 pieces that she's going to be given a day. She needs so much more than that to be able to sustain herself. So do we check? Do you know what I think we do? We give them their cookies. You know, we give them their little bit of candy for the day. Playa del Carmen is one of these places where it's literally, I mean, if you're a good strong swimmer, you could get in the beach and you could swim to where the sharks are.
Question is, by attracting the bull sharks to one spot, what we're doing is we're endangering them, or creating an area where fishermen can just, you know, drop their hooks and pull up some sharks. That area where they actually dive with sharks, it's illegal for fishermen to actually go to that spot to fish for sharks, because what they do is they long line, and they're only allowed to long line, I think it's like 3 miles away from shore. They're not legally allowed to do that. So any fishermen coming out to the area where the bull sharks are, they're illegally fishing that area to begin with. What the local operators have done is they've created an area that's actually protected. You know, before this spot was not protected, and so the fishermen would come in at night and fish the area for the bull sharks. They knew the sharks were there, and then they would come in and fish them out. However, through the years, they've created some kind of gentleman's agreement, and the sharks have actually won some protection. So when they come into this area, the fishermen know not to go to this area anymore. So this is actually a win for the sharks themselves, because before any of the bull shark diving started, the fishermen were coming into the Playa del Carmen area, fishing up the sharks at night, and then, you know, taking off by the morning, and nobody really even knew they were there. Now that they've got these shark dives here, you know, these animals have won their protection through the efforts of the local dive operators that have created this. So I think it's an amazing thing what they've done over there, as far as winning protection for a shark that didn't have any protection, and then creating an opportunity for people to see this animal where they knew nothing about bull sharks, and especially because bull sharks have such terrible reputations, for them to be able to go down there and see this animal and learn another side of this animal, I think is amazing.
I can imagine in certain areas where the sharks would be at more risk for fishermen coming in and harvesting them. Fortunately, in the Bahamas here, the Bahamas enacted legislation to make it illegal for any commercial harvesting of sharks. So for my area, I don't believe there's any real risk from fishermen for these sharks. 25 years ago, when I started with a Caribbean reef shark dive, that was a really big thing. Everybody wanted to see the Caribbean reef sharks. It was in the very beginning of all shark diving. And now, of course, it's evolved, and we've moved into the hammerheads and the tigers. So I think it's an evolution of people's awareness of sharks and their awareness of what sharks are like, that particularly they're not just some random killing, feeding animal. They actually do have brains, they actually are quite intelligent, they really know what they're doing. So I believe that this type of shark diving shows more and more people what sharks are really like. And like I say, I believe that spreads throughout the whole community.
For me, the positives of shark diving, organized shark feeds, is having people have the opportunity to see another side of these animals. I mean, there's so much that we don't know about sharks that, you know, these kind of opportunities are giving us the best chances to learn more about tiger sharks, about bull sharks, about white sharks. And we're also, at the same time, offering a little bit of protection for these animals that really don't have any. Because there's, you know, when you come to places like the Bahamas where it is a shark sanctuary, and the only reason it's a shark sanctuary is because of the efforts of the shark diving community, of the shark conservationists, and the shark researchers that have all kind of gotten together, created this entire, the entire Bahamian waters into a place where sharks are protected. And as a result, we're seeing an increase of tiger sharks, we're seeing an increase of lemon sharks, of reef sharks, in an area where we were starting to see a decrease of these animals. And through the years and through this protection, now we're starting to see the rebound of these shark species that actually will breed in these areas, leave these waters, and maybe the fishermen are going to benefit from it, when they leave this place, unfortunately. But we are starting to see an increase in shark species here. We are starting to see an increase in the diversity of shark species that show up in these waters. And I think it's the benefit of having shark sanctuaries, protecting these animals. And because of the divers, it's really only because of the divers. The Bahamas have protected their sharks because divers are spending a lot of money to come and see these animals. And so the sharks are enjoying the benefit of that, and the Bahamian government and the people of the Bahamas are enjoying the benefits of shark ecotourism because it means tourist dollars. So, it's a win-win for the sharks, for the people, for the government. Everybody benefits.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing to let people know. I don't think that, for instance, SeaWorld, the captive animals, the whole draw for that has been that we're showing people that these critters are not to be feared, yes, but you're creating a penned-up environment for an animal that should not be penned up. We, shark divers, are actually going out into their environment. We may be changing it slightly, but not to the extent that an aquarium would do for an animal like that.
I strongly believe that this ocean is only going to survive if people like us talk about it. If people like you are doing, this video now with the photographs. We go into schools and we educate the kids, and the best thing ever is when you sit there with a class of 6, 7, 8-year-olds and you're asking them just really simple questions about the ocean, about sharks, not necessarily just sharks, about anything to do with the ocean, and their passion, you see their hands shooting up to answer the questions, and they ask the teachers, when's the shark lady coming back, and all of that is getting the passion when they're that young to understand, have a better understanding than this, the Jaws film that so many people associate with sharks, which is obviously totally incorrect. So, education.
Is there any other message you'd like to give people watching this video?
I think for those that don't know about sharks, please open your mind. There is, I speak to so many people that have this, oh my God, are you crazy? You do, and you're still alive, and all of this. And try and educate yourself first before you make those decisions about, warning children not to swim in, just a simple ocean, and enjoy it, learn, understand.
And as long as one single person change their things, change their mind about all these animals, I think our job is done.
So I hope this video helps people to open their minds a little bit about shark feeding. The people I interviewed here have thousands of dives with sharks and really are truly experts on the subject. Having many dives with several types of species of sharks myself, I've seen zero evidence that feeding sharks causes them to associate humans with food. I don't believe shark feeding causes any risk to humans in the ocean. We just don't look like anything they eat on a regular basis. Unless we bring bait into the water, the sharks just don't care about us. Sharks are being decimated right now by the millions for shark fin soup and other products that people use every day and don't even know sharks are in it. We need them to have a healthy ocean and to control fish populations, and I think that shark diving has done so much to raise awareness to help save the sharks and help save our oceans. We don't need to fear them. We need to respect them and learn from them so we can help them.